Hello and good day. This is Punchline and we are First News Nation. As usual, Punchline is for discussion on national politics. I'm Sammy Ajufo. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for reaching out on all our social media handles on our YouTube channel at First News Nation, as well as other platforms including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, as well as TikTok and LinkedIn at First News Nation. Whichever one of these platforms you usually visit, please enable notifications at First News Nation, so every time there's a new episode of the show, you are the first to know. Let's go for a short break. When we get back, we talk about the fact that President Tinubu is finally probing his predecessor from the same party, President Muhammadu Buhari. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's still Punchline, and the big story is that President Tinubu of the APC is going to probe President Muhammadu Buhari of the APC 2015 to 2023. President Muhammadu Buhari held sway as Nigeria's president, and in 2023, May 29, former governor of Lagos State Bola Tinubu took over as his successor as President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Recently, we've been having a lot of conversations about the ills of the Buhari era and how they are affecting the Tinubu government. Members of Tinubu's cabinet have not shown away from exposing their displeasure about the activities of President Muhammadu Buhari of the same party they represent. I think that's the biggest hurt for many Nigerians. That's what seems to dent the credibility of the APC. That whatever is happening in Nigeria today was caused by your predecessor. And all of them are throwing missiles at the Buhari administration. However, some people are throwing missiles at the opposition. They would rather not throw missiles at the former administration for obvious reasons. But now, the conversation is about the fact that there is 22 trillion naira on the table being discussed. And now here is 30 trillion naira. The Federal House of Assembly, the Red Chamber, say it's 30 trillion. Other people say it's 22 trillion. So somehow, in between, there's about 8 trillion naira missing, but let's call it 30 trillion. The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, has publicly declared that the Tinubu administration will be probing the 22 trillion naira Ways and Means loan approved from the central bank for the President Muhammadu Buhari administration. 22 trillion naira. On the other hand, it's 30 trillion naira from the position of the Senate. In 2023, May 2023, just a few weeks or days before the official handover from Buhari to Tinubu, there was a plan to restructure the 22.7 trillion naira loan from the central bank under Emefiele. Emefiele again. We've talked about Emefiele now. Every sin of the Buhari administration, economic sin, has been put on Emefiele, forgetting the fact that Buhari had a Minister of Finance. Emefiele is now the scapegoat for everything. So Emefiele was the presiding man at the Central Bank of Nigeria, where 22.7 trillion naira was given to the Buhari administration. What does Ways and Means mean? Ways and Means mean allowing the federal government to borrow from the central bank if it needs emergency funds for sorting out anything. 22 trillion. Are we saying that 22 trillion was borrowed from 2015 or recently from the 2019 to 2023 second tenure? Minister Wale Edun has also disclosed that the government is probing Emefiele through the EFCC to find out how and why. Was the CBN governor supposed to deny the president? I think if it was the former governor and former Emir of Kano, His Royal Majesty, Royal Highness Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, he would have denied the presidency that money. But Emefiele, according to many people, was pliable. So as it stands, he's being probed by the EFCC. Among many other charges, this is the latest one that has been added. By the way, Emefiele was released on bail. And I heard recently he's suing the president of the Senate for this statement.
So the kind of debts and the kind of economic mess that we're in, a lot of people did not understand. Sometimes I remember President Obama saying that you cannot know Washington until you get to Washington. So by the time we went in to look at the economic situation of the country, it was terrible. So you know that the former governor of Central Bank, we don't even know what to charge him with. Whether to charge him for putting foam on top of the bill, or to charge him for illegal possession of firearm, or to charge him for printing notes without income. I don't know what we are going to charge him with. But what we can know is that yes, there is hunger today because of the kind of policies and actions that they took. And we recognize that. And I think every political party should recognize that there is hunger and that we are battling to ensure that Nigerians can sleep with their eyes closed.
So that's what's happening. Emefiele is suing Godswill Akpabio for making that statement. And Emefiele is also facing charges from different. We have another story of where Emefiele was accused of forging the president's certificate and releasing money to the tune of about $6 million or $2.6 million or $6 million that was allegedly used to pay for foreign observers. Nobody pays foreign observers. We have so many talk about Emefiele, but he's being blamed for 30 trillion naira. Now, how did this money come? It must have passed through the Senate. Now, that's another kettle of fish because the Senate now is under fire. What does it mean? It means that the Senate approved the 22 trillion because the monies came in different tranches for different things, which also ties into the vice president and his anchor borrowers program. Someone said that before they left the administration that his anchor borrowing program, I'm talking about Vice President Shibajo, will be probed, and it seems that is coming to pass. Senate is also probing the same thing. Senate is probing the ways and means money, and they're also probing the anchor's borrower program. So the vice president has a case to answer. The former vice president has a case to answer. Former president has a case to answer. Emefiele has a case to answer. And guess who else? The former leadership of the Senate, who is still in the Senate right now. Ahmed Lawan was president of the Senate from, I think it's from 2015 or so to 2023. And in that time period, they approved the ways and means of 22 trillion to 30 trillion naira. So the Senate is at odds whether to probe itself and its members. Remember, Ahmed Lawan contested election again, even though he was almost kicked out by an unknown candidate. He's currently in the Senate doing, well, no, I can't say doing nothing, but he's just lying low in the Senate. So will the Senate probe itself? Senator Alin Dume has also come out to say he was not there the day the plenary session approved that money and that we should start probing. So it's now the APC members fighting among themselves within the red chamber. Who approved the money? Should we probe? Shouldn't we probe? Other political parties are looking at them and smiling. Nigerians are wondering, how will this end up? Senators are beginning to have arguments that the money was approved. Some say it wasn't approved. Alin Dume says it was illegal. But the end of this story is that the Buhari administration will be probed for 22 trillion. And I believe this is just the beginning of many other probes that will happen. And I still stand on my statement that this administration is the CPC, this is the ACN administration. The CPC administration has had its own 8 years. So at the end of this, both CPC and ACN, who formed the APC, would finally have served their 16 years. So this is obviously a way for President Bola Tinubu to make advances and say, look, what actually happened? Emefiele will be the man that they'll be facing. Will the Senate probe itself? That's the question. Where did 22 trillion go? And that's what will be asked. That's what's being asked. Because the Senate also got part of that money. Other organizations got part of that money. And to think that President Muhammadu Buhari rode into power in 2015 on the back of anti-corruption, on the back of being a saint, and even the ECOWAS or AU gave him champion of anti-corruption, just the same way they gave President Tinubu champion of health, when Tinubu has done absolutely nothing in health. I don't know what's going on in the African Union or ECOWAS. You gave President Tinubu champion of health when he jets out of Nigeria every moment to check his high blood pressure or check his health. What has he done in the health sector that you call him a champion of health? Or is the AU or ECOWAS just a waste of space? Really, someone needs to talk about that. President Tinubu cannot be given champion of health the same way President Muhammadu Buhari could not be called champion of anti-corruption. Look at it right now. Look at what's going on. Look at the probes. Look at the amount of money we're talking about. And this is just ways and means. We've not talked about every other angle as well. Will the Tinubu government have the political will to probe the Buhari administration? This is an APC on APC war, and we're going to be watching to see how that pans out. If you have comments about it, please drop it in the comment section below. We'll be waiting to hear what you have to say. Your views are very important. As well, go ahead, share this video, repost it, put it on all your platforms, and let every other person contribute. Do you think the 30 trillion naira ways and means and every other thing that came in between, the anchor borrowers program and every other intervention program that this money came out of, do you think President Tinubu will probe it to the latter? We're going to talk about that as time progresses. Unfortunately, we don't have any opposition that will actually push this forward as it should. On behalf of all the production team members, thank you very much for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe to all our social media handles, as mentioned before. I will see you next episode. I'm Sammy Ajufo. Do all you can to stay safe.